So before we begin, I wish to acknowledge that Queen's University and the Agnes Etherington Arts Centre are situated on traditional Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee territory. To acknowledge this territory is to recognize its longer history, one predating the establishment of the earliest European colonies. It is also to acknowledge this territory's significance for the Indigenous peoples who lived and continue to live upon it, people whose practices and spiritualities were tied to the land and continue to develop in relationship to the territory and its other inhabitants today. The Kingston Indigenous community continues to reflect the area's Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee roots, and there's also a significant Métis community, and there are First Peoples from other nations across Turtle Island present here today. This beautiful land, the trees, the three waterways nearby, the animals and birds are an inspiration and a solace during these difficult times, and we are grateful and privileged to be able to live, work, play, create, and heal in our communities on this land. I urge you all to spend some time researching and reflecting on the land you are coming from, and to consider your own positionality on this land and how you can contribute to the work of decolonizing your institutions and your minds. Thank you. And I would like to introduce JP Longboat, who is one of our speakers today.
I just wanted to begin to welcome all the folks who wanted to come and be here in this gathering today, this circle. We want to acknowledge the spirits of the ancestors that are here. You mentioned the animals and the land in this dish with one spoon territory, we call it. We, as was mentioned, we're here on the ancestral territory of the Ongohowe, or the Haudenosaunee folks, Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and the Huron-Wendat. So welcome, and it's going to be wonderful to gather with you and council. Noah.
Thank you, JP. So welcome everyone to the Art and Wellness Speaker Series. We are thrilled today to have two special guests. And before I introduce them, I'll just let you know how the speaker series will work. We'll have an introduction of our first speaker, Elaine Kicknosway, and then Elaine will speak with us for about 45 minutes. And then we'll have another introduction of JP Longboat, and he will then speak to us for about 45 minutes. And then we'll have around a half an hour, 30-minute question and answer. So we do encourage you, while you're listening to the speakers, please think about some questions you might have for them and put them in the Q&A box, and we will then pose those questions at the end. We're really looking forward to that dialogue with you. Even though we can't see you, we know you're there, and we really appreciate you being here with us. So I'd like to introduce Elaine Kicknosway. Elaine Kicknosway is Wolf Clan, originally from northern Saskatchewan, and a member of Peter Ballantine Cree Nation. She is a survivor of the 60s scoop era and returned home in the mid-1990s back to her community. She is a singer, women's traditional dancer, participant in ceremonies, and ongoing learner. Elaine supports and helps with drumming circles, ceremonies, talking circles, discussion related to intergenerational impacts of residential schools and how child welfare has impacted the family today. She has been within ceremony life since returning home in her 20s, and she has been a blanket exercise facilitator and trainer for the past 7 years. She is the co-founder of the National Survivors of Child Welfare, and we wish to welcome you, Elaine.
Bonjour, Ani Tansi Kwekwe Wache Sego. Miigwech JP for that beautiful acknowledgement of the treaty conversations of peace and friendship, and also the ongoing conversations of where academia are still learning and that wellness to come in what they say, a good mind, and our relations that we continue to strive in good ways with one another. And so when I speak, I speak of trauma spaces, unfortunately. And so when I'm speaking of the traditional Indigenous way of life, I have to remind people of the impact of colonization within our way of life, and that realignment back to the peaceful peace and friendship, even within our communities, our sense of self, our sense of how do we guide ourselves within a traditional element of who am I and where am I going. So when I do these talks, I remind people it's not going to give you a right or a how to do ceremony life. I only speak from my own perspective. I don't give permission for people to do what I do. I took many years learning under my uncle Raymond Ballantyne, the late Raymond Ballantyne. He's my direct uncle. And also the many teachers, Perry Francois, and the different relations that I carry. And it's hard work. It's hard work to lead what they say a traditional life when you see this life before us happening right now. So I want to extend my relational peace and friendship all the way from BC, all the way to the East Coast, all the way up to Nunavut, all the way down to the Turtle's Tail in Florida. And that in itself is Turtle Island. And we're so related to each other. We're so related. And sometimes when I'm talking about this lifestyle and witnessing historic history, living history happening right now, we have to take acknowledgement of what is happening within our territories, within this traditional life, our traditional way of life, our traditional Indigenous way of life. And there's songs being sung right now. There's a lot of prayers happening. There's a lot of rites of passage, and today's rite of passage is land defending. Our rite of passage is water defending. Our rite of passage is asking help from the sky beings to make sure that everything above there is okay. Everything in the earth with that traditional way of life in our daily walk. And those songs that are sung, songs of we'll get through this, songs of rite of passage, songs of the rites of our passaging, the rites of our passaging, and not taking an ego place from that, and not assuming in a privileged way because I can. And sometimes when I'm speaking, I don't mean to offend, but this is the way it was brought to me in ways of, let's talk the truth. Because if we're truth walkers, then how do we break it down? Elaine Kicknosway, Maingandodam, Pelicaneros Donjaba, Ottawa Aki. So my English name is Elaine. All of me, all of my body, all of my water, all of everything of where I come from comes from a very small community called Pelican. All my relations are up in northern Saskatchewan, but our relations have traveled. And sometimes they were forced on us when we traveled. We traveled because of residential school, traveled because of the Indian hospitals, traveled because of the sanatoriums, traveled because of the displacement and the script from the Métis, traveled because of child welfare and the 60s scoop. And that purposeful travel to eliminate, to disseminate even all our food so we wouldn't have any. And understanding what's happening in the East Coast, the destruction of the people's lobster. And we really have to take these conversations into larger places and bring it in that place of platform. Our songs are really strong, our prayers are strong, and our way of life is really strong. And we need to come in what they say, that level place. Because everything that came in when we came from the earth, from our water, and the people that prayed for us to have a good day, or to be raised well, or to know the knowledge of the people. So when I was being created, my first dance and my first defending of the earth was in my mother's womb. And she said I kicked her sometimes, you know, in relations to, the door just opened, in relations to taking her breath away. And that also happened when I carried my son. He would kick me and I'd say, oh, you took my breath away. But he was defending, he was land defending his earth, but also his water. And that's where we get those early teachings, eh? And if they're not passed to us, then we don't know. And the songs that we're to hear in our womb, like we sing those songs sometimes in those sacred spots called those longhouses, those wigwams, those sweat lodges, those sun dances, those places of prayer that were outlawed in Canada. We were outlawed to practice our place of prayer and place of song, place of language, place of raising our children, place of these different places. So when we're realigning that place back to this earth of how do we do this traditional way of life, it comes from a voice, it comes from breath, it comes from how do I make my land so that it stays stable in this instability, or the places of where it's been unstable and places of childhood. Maingandodam, which means I'm wolf clan. Wolves are loyal. We're loyal. We're loyal to the pack. We can be lone, or we can follow the pack. We can be the leader, we can be the followers, or we can be the helpers, or we can be the initiators. And for me, I because of my early experiences in child welfare, and they said I lost my voice and I lost my talk. In child welfare, I lost my talk. English is not my first language. I'm a Cree speaker. So in my heart and in my body and in my mind and in my thought process, I still think Cree. But in today's voice, I can only speak English because of the places of where they would grab us when we were children. So I lost my talk. And that's that physical memory of how did I regain my talk? A lot of it was through community, a lot of it was through therapy, a lot of it was through ceremony, and a lot of it was going to others that had had the different rites of passage of coming back home. So I went into those places that needed the rites of passage of even first song. My first song, as our little ones sing it, comes when they're born. Their first cry, but in our world, it's their first song. And the continuum of those songs and the person that responds to the songs, oh, you're hungry, okay. Oh, you need to be held, okay. And we're singing as these infants. We have to remind ourselves of the different, what they say, interloper that's been passed down from the different institutes that took those songs. So now in that realignment, we're teaching more. And, you know, people look down upon this thing called electricity. Oh, you're not supposed to learn songs on YouTube. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to. But if that's the only place you can find it and see yourself, sometimes that's why social media is so popular. Because they hear something that a person feels that they belong. But there's still an emotional and physical disconnect. And we have to remind ourselves in that disconnect, we've disconnected from many places, including our two-spirit, including our trans, including those that are questioning or whatever they call that place of who am I? And it's not for an outside influence to tell them who they are. Ultimately, we tell each other, this is who I am. This is where I'm from. This is how maybe I survived. And I know song in my life has helped me survive. Song from in childhood, song from getting out of foster care system, songs from when I grew into the adoptive home that was non-Indigenous, that knew nothing about a Cree girl. Songs that I grew into as an 80s kid, songs that, you know, the classics from the 80s that got me through. Songs from coming back into the community and joining drum groups and coming back into ceremony, and songs that got me into sobriety, or what they say, a harm reduction. Songs that continue to bring the gifts of the four directions to me. Songs even help me realign the words of my language back to me. So when I'm singing, I'm taking on the understanding of the roles and responsibility within that life cycle. I was supposed to always sing in my infancy. I was supposed to have teachers that would love me unconditionally. So I sing that back to me. I sing that back to understanding as a toddler that I stumbled and I fell. And there's songs for making mistakes. There's songs in joy of even getting up. There's songs of when you return the belly button, the umbilical cord. There's songs to that. There's rites of passage. And sometimes us as parents, we're like, but I don't know that. So, and community, we have to recognize that sometimes it's been passed. Right now in the harvest, I'm trying to eat as much corns, beans, and squash right now. Partly because of the interrelations I have with the corns, beans, and squash caregivers. And so I had my, how many corn? I had my squash for my lunch. And I've had it. And there's this craving that comes with the seasons of what am I supposed to eat seasonally, and sing those songs to those plants and the garden and the harvest, and give thanks for even for those seeds. And also come into a place that says, I'm not taking advantage, and I'm not abusing or advantaging on a vulnerable place. And understand the daily effects of privilege. I have a privilege to live in a house. I have a privilege of working hard to make it consistent for me and be in the place of being asked. But I know that the person that I speak to, or the people that I speak to, could do it just as well, or maybe even better. So I really try not to have too much of an ego space. I know a little, but I don't know a lot. And when places of privilege, or even of places of how can I go there and how do I find out, we have to acknowledge that sometimes places of privilege are through these different institutes. So, you know, and just holding that. It's not a guilt one. It's not a shame one. It's just holding it and understanding that what is shared, if it's recorded, to share it out further so that our people can see us, so that we're not what they say, the lone person in the room or the lone speaker in the room. There should be more of us. And those are the places of understanding, you know, on the front lines, land defending, whether it be the moose moratorium or in through the waters at BC region, or the uranium or tar sands. Even that's a place of privilege, of really understanding the effects and finding the experts. And I'm not an expert on songs. I just like to sing. I just like to sing our songs because that realigns me back into all of my being. I was sharing earlier the scarf I wear, it's kind of glittery. It reminds me of my late grandma, and she wore scarves like that. So in that place of privilege, it's saying I'm going to find that so that I can bring it home to me, and I have the capabilities and avenue even to internet that's consistent, and drink my tea of my running water, and the human right of having a safe environment called my home with not too many people in my home other than my husband and my child, and know that I'm not in an overcrowded home. And the songs that we sing here, the songs that we sing in our home, and how we take it out. So we sing to our babies, we sing to the toddlers, we sing at powwows, we sing in ceremony, we sing to ourselves. Every morning I'm woken up by this beautiful sun that sings every day of his life. There's never a morning where he didn't sing yet. And the generations of when it stopped. Do you remember the moment that you as a person stopped singing? Do you remember? I remember I was in foster care. I stopped growing, I stopped talking, and I stopped singing. And only when I was about 3.5, almost 4, the adopted mother of the last home that I was placed in, she heard this song. Just a simple song, she said. And it just sounded like, I am home, I am home. And that joy and that reassurance that that child was singing. And that was my song. I am home, I am home. Just in that little 4-year-old singing sense of self of, I'm home. So my adopted parent at that time shared she knew that it would be hard, but it was going to be okay. She didn't know fully what that meant to adopt a Cree child that was neglected and abused. She was only there for after the storm. And a lot of the daily conversation within community is after the storm, what we've lived through, and how we're regaining that life cycle of responsibility. And being in that place of honesty, even for our youth, and being beside them, remembering our youth. I shared I was a 80s youth, I was a punk rocker, I was, half shaved head, I had a lot of earrings, now I just wear one. But those different things of the different eras, listening to Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, those were the songs of the day. But I was supposed to also learn Rites of Passage, the Berry Fast songs, the First Kill, and those are the hunting songs, the passages to get to the hunt. And the water, take me back to the water to remind me of my responsibility. And we have a wonderful youth advocate. Her name's Autumn Peltier. And she started young. She was just a child to say, who speaks for the water? And that's all of our original conversation. We are all from water, and we're all to advocate for water. Not in a privileged place, but in an authentic place. And then becoming that adult, or what they call adulting. And those songs that come even from trying new things. For myself as a young adult, I was getting off the street because I had been homeless. I was also struggling with addictions. So there's a total different environment of what songs are around you, to the songs that you were meant to have. Songs to teach you about the gardening, teach you about the going on the land, teach you about the picking. Have enough to pick for more of the people that will come in your life, and even have the medicines around you. And then the time will come of making a choice of what relations that you will have, to have a partner or not, and what's been presented to you. And so what was presented to me earlier was violence. So I was in violent relationships, and the stillness and the quietness that came with that, and walking on eggshells, to the environment I am today of speaking up, and that place of what I did to get through that, and who helped me, and those specialized helpers that brought me back and did those ceremonies to say, you belong. Sing that song, I am home. I am home. You've always been home. All this land called your body, your sovereign land, is home. And that place of when I become a parent, preparing even when I'm becoming a parent. And when I became a parent, I was a later age, what they say, a later pregnancy. And at the age of 36, I had a lot of different helpers and supporters and different places of singing and praying for me, so that the baby would stay within this life, so that he could physically come to walk on this earth. And there's prayers and grief all through that time. And having the love of grandparents and communities, and kind of giving my time to be able to rest, to develop the songs that were going to be sung, and sing to the womb. Always sing and have him around, or have them around that ceremonial life. So I'd go to the drum. I wouldn't go into too many places, and understanding that that we can't always go to those places, because we're carrying life. And it's the responsibility to the families and communities to help take care of you. But also you do the work too, do the best you can. And coming into that era or ageism of grandparents. So now I'm a step-grandparent to some pretty cool kids. Like pretty, really wild kids, and singing them their songs, but them singing their songs to me, and then bringing that nation to nation conversation, because our grandchildren are in Ganawage, and that interrelation of knowing we have many places of how we continue to bring our voice, our language, our songs, and our traditional rites of passage in our life cycle responsibilities to one another. And we do that in the knowing that we've been asked to be here in a prayer. We've been asked to be here in a thought and an action, and develop and grow into, this is who I am. I think I was always a singer. I like singing. I really like singing. I don't do it a lot, but when I do it with my son or by myself, I just sit in prayer. And that's those places of help me get through this. I sing through my anxiety. I sing through my there's COVID songs now, right? Help me get through this. Help me understand that we had protection songs. We had songs that would help one another and lend a hand, because that's that placing that seed forward in our relation. And so in our Minopamadzo, in our way of life, our walking way of life, with that good mind comes that place of, we're all doing our part as best as we can. And sometimes it's hard. So we have those grief songs, we have those alone songs, we have those songs of independence, songs of merging back forth to one another, songs of first dance, songs of rites of passage, songs of even becoming a grandparent. It's new role, songs of becoming a parent. songs of within a relationship. There's songs there, songs of understanding that with the songs comes different objects of comfort, whether it be a blanket, a pillow, a scarf, earrings, that adornment, the place of adornment, because that brings a sense of comfort, a sense of adornment, which means we're all walking gems. That's the way I look at it, because the sky life is full of vision, and we're to help carry the vision forward within songs and communication, and have really difficult discussions. And sometimes if I'm not the one to have the discussion because I get too frustrated, I know that there's others that will carry it forward. We have really good speakers. So for this season, I'm eating a lot of apples and beets, broccoli, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, all the things of the corns, beans, and squash, and the lettuce, not just like green lettuce, but all the colored lettuces, and the potatoes, and the like. The neighborhood found out that I like tomatoes, so they're bringing me all these like cherry tomatoes. Like every day I get fresh cherry tomatoes from my neighbors' gardens. And that's where you're eating the earth. You're eating the sun, you're eating the water. And that to me, because people separate this thing called culture. And if I lost my culture because of the 60s scoop, I can't eat it back enough. I can't wear enough beadwork enough. I can't wear enough scarves enough. But I am enough. I've always been enough. And so are you. You've always been enough in the songs that you know today, to the songs that you're going to grow into, to the action, the movement, the growth, the speaking up, the I'm not sure if this is a good idea. When I was approached to speak here, I wasn't sure it was a good idea, because I always go to that place. I don't know if I know enough, but I knew that I wouldn't be the only one in the room. When they said JP would be here, I was like, okay, I've worked with him before. Okay, let's go. We're okay. So it's really going into that place of anxiousness, because a lot of times when I was growing up, I was the only one in the room with all of a sudden needing to know the whole part of the oppression and the education. But I know I'm not alone. There's a lot of you, and I hope you're all speaking up for the things that are happening in your territory, within your community, within the nationhood, within your territory, and being what they say, a person of action. There seems to always be this word of ally, but actually you have to put it into action. Everyone needs to put something into action in a good way to be of that balance, because the wampum was there and we weren't to change the way of life. We were continue to be on the water, and we would pass and acknowledge each other in our walk of life. And there was a respect there. There was a respect of, I honor you, and I give thanks for that. So I've been talking, I don't know, maybe half an hour. Is that all I need to talk now?
Hi, Elaine. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Do you have anything else you may want to say? You could talk for maybe 5 or 10 more minutes if you'd like, but if you just let us know.
I always ask, like where people are saying, tell us about Indigenous 101, or the place of what are we supposed to know? I always say, grab a piece of paper, just a blank piece of paper. Mm-hmm. Put 1492 on there. So that was like first contact. Mm-hmm. If you knew that the schools closed in 1996, then you put that there. And then 2020. And then you start filling in everybody start filling in, what do they know about Indigenous content? And then if you're surprised of why the page is almost all empty, ask yourself why.
Mm.
So that's that conversation of understanding, even in privilege, it's really important to know the whole space of who you are occupying or spending time with. Because my walk might be totally different from your walk. My walk, called the 60 Scoop, is totally different from Inuit relocation, from my grandfather's walk, from being a scripted Métis man, to my grandmother's walk under the Indian Act, to being raised in residential school. My walk is different from my mother, who was raised in the Indian hospitals and sanatoriums. My walk is totally different from her walk because I'm raising my child. But I work with many places of CAS and the intergenerational effects. And my walk is totally going to be different than my son's walk from when he becomes a parent, being it took till 2003 to actually legally have my child at home, right? Because the schools closed in 1996. Legally, we weren't allowed to raise our children until 1996. So we have to go in there. We have to have those conversations of what was your walk like and why didn't you know about these different things? Even the Royal Commission on Aboriginal People in 1996, or the Oka crisis, which was actually a war, the Oka War. And then the formal apology in 2008. Do you know it word by word? Do you know how they got there and who did it? And then the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to the missing and murdered, you know. So I always encourage people, 1492, 1990, or 1996 to 2020. But then put another line. What else is going to happen? And what is your action in that responsibility? That's what I always do. And I tell this from my son all the way up to these high-end government workers to Queen's University. I think everybody should know this. And I don't mean to offend when I say these words, but I know I'm still a tourist within many nations. I'm still learning. And it's okay to not feel ashamed of that. I love it, every community I go to. If I could go to every community and not act on my privilege of saying, teach me, but just be. Authentically be, and offer a little that I do know, and bring those gifts. Everywhere I go, I carry different gifts with me, so that in case I run into somebody or something and I offer tobacco as an offering and give them a gift. Thank you for teaching me, because I didn't know that. And I thank my son so much. I thank my partner, my husband, you know, because when we came together, I said, I'm going to do everything different, because what I've been taught isn't working for me. 22 years later, it's working. I still speak up. I'm independent. I'm with him, and we're growing into what's going to happen next. And now we look at what will he do next in his daily conversation of education. Because education, to some in our community and our family, is not a good thing, because of the elements of how education assimilated us. So we have to hold that too, as within the education system. I know at different times that was there, but today's education, we're going to continue to build a relationship with you so that you feel safe to be involved. So I do work with education. And now he wants to go to university. So I'll have to hold that in my heart to say, I know, we've given you a safe world. We told you this world is safe. So go fly, but come home. We'll always have lots of food, lots of songs, lots of celebration. But when you fly, you come home, because you're always a part of my heart, my body, because you were my body. And that's what I think that we have every day. So I think that's it for me. But I know there's questions and answers for later. So I thank you very much. I'm just feeling kind of humbled to be here and offer the little that I do know. And I wish you all a good day. Miigwech. Hi, hi.
Thank you so much, Elaine. We're also very humbled to spend this time with you and to hear your story. And I'm so inspired by your sharing about song and how song has been so important to you. And I think that's such an important question, is asking when has someone lost their song? It reminds me, my family, we're all very creative and there's lots of music in our home. And I remember my daughter coming home from school. I think she was maybe in grade 2. And she said, "Mommy, I was humming in class," because that's how she was learning. She was humming as she was doing her class, and her teacher scolded her for that and told her to stop humming. And so that really hit home. And I can imagine that situation happens all the time in all sorts of situations throughout history. It really came home. It felt like such an invasion of her natural way of being. And my fear was that she would stop singing and stop humming forever. But she knows now just that in school, she's not allowed to hum, and children aren't allowed to speak up. They have to listen. And you talked about this education system, and what sort of teaching is that when we're not allowing children to express their song?
Yeah.
So I really feel that, and
Yeah.
so many of the things you shared.
I'll give you a little just add on. I don't want to go into JP's time too much. Is it okay if I add that on?
Absolutely, please do.
When Thielen, my son, was in kindergarten, best kindergarten teacher ever. Like that was my first experience, and she knew, she kind of had this intuition that, you know, I really wasn't sure about this schooling for him, but you know, I want him to know like school, right? And I want him to feel proud of his school. And she was so kind. Like she'd like, I see him, and then he does this like kind of like a tap dance. And I'm like, oh, that's probably his happy dance. You know, like he can't just sing out there. And because our children today are living in two worlds, right? And but they're gradually growing into the two worlds, because that's the world that they've been born into. You know, when I was born into either going to residential school, Indian hospitals, day school, or child welfare. That is the era I was born into. And he's born into being lawful. Oh, and I was outlawed. Mm-hmm. He was born into being lawful, lawfully raised at home, lawfully being able to raise and decide what school he wants to go to, lawfully be able to sing all his songs and dance and conduct his ceremonies lawfully. So that's that other, and then we've got this huge place of connection through these different platforms. So I think I keep on saying this huge wave is coming. It's not just this pandemic, but this huge wave of knowledge, because they've been raised and we're raising them with this knowledge, and kind of scraping away all the stuff of the buffering of it. They're seeing the full knowledge and speaking to the speakers. And I think that this wave, and everybody has to get ready. I even have to get ready. So we have to get ready, be prepared. because they're going to take leadership. They're going to take tenures. They're going to be professors. They're going to not just be students. And that's okay, because we've raised them that way, to take their place of their rights and responsibility in their leadership. So, miigwech, everybody. Hi, hi.
Miigwech. Thank you so much again, Elaine. I'm looking forward to our Q&A. And please make sure that you add some questions for both Elaine and JP in the Q&A box. I have so much to think about after your talk here, Elaine. Thank you. Introducing JP Longboat. JP is a storyteller, a multidisciplinary artist, and he is Mohawk, Turtle Clan from 6 Nations of the Grand River, Southern Ontario. JP has a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree through combined education at the University of Michigan and the Ontario College of Art and Design. He has extensive professional training and practice in traditional and contemporary forms of visual art and live performance. We welcome you, JP.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm just doing just a little smudge just to ground myself after that. That to me is a very deep and truthful narrative that we were just that Elaine just shared with us. So a lot of times it gets emotional in different ways. So so we look to those plants, for that grounding and that healing, and so I just wanted to start just with that. Everything, almost everything, is going to weave right together with what I'm going to present this afternoon. And also out of this, Elaine, I think we should talk about a future project on the wolf. I've got something cooking, so I'm gonna contact you after this. So part of what I would love for this event as well is also an opportunity to network. I'm doing different things in my practice in different ways that could be an opportunity to reach out and make more contact once we finish this, and then in the coming days. So I just want to keep that open as well. I created a bit of a script. This is not the usual way I present. I'm also one where, from a storyteller's point of view, you actually want to physically be in that circle, and you want to feel the room, feel the space, be in that energy. So I've got a bit of a script. I'm going to kind of refer to that throughout the talk and presentation I have. And we have an opportunity to actually do an action, as Elaine, put forth in a number of different ways. So I'm a dancer. I'm a performer. Ceremony, ritual are very important to me in my creative process and in my cultural process as well. So Elaine also mentioned a couple of times this rites of passage. Or initiation. So we've built in an exercise to perhaps engage in that and make an action or create or imagine an action. So that's a bit of a rites of passage. And one of the things that this is sort of going to draw from, just from ease of process, would be the calls to action from the TRC. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls to action, the 94 calls to action. So I think there's a link somewhere. I would suggest maybe pull those up, have those in reference, and just look at those as I'm speaking, and as we'll start the process in a little bit. But as I'm speaking, this is will flow over the 45 minutes that we have. So. And I'll guide you through. So, where to begin here? So first of all, I just want to thank you. I want to thank the local people, the traditional title holders to the land, the ancestors, for, you know, opening the space for me to present. It's an honor. It's really an honor to be able to being asked to be able to speak at this forum. I also wanted to thank the organizers of the event, as you know, they're the reasons why we're here today. I want to honor their vision and the work they did to bring us all together, and for their spirit of inclusion. This in itself is an act of reconciliation and relationship building. So I completely honor that. One of the things that Haudenosaunee people do is to begin by honoring all of creation with our Thanksgiving address. In the language, it means the words that come before all else. So we speak these words of thanksgiving. And what it is, it's all of the words have been spoken, all the words of acknowledgement of all of our relations. So from the underworld, you know, all the way up through creation to the Milky Way and the cosmos. So in that, you know, we're including the waters, the fish, the medicines, the green plants, the trees, the winds, the moon, and the celestial. And in the end, we ask if we are all of one mind in that Thanksgiving. So we can acknowledge that we are all of one peaceful mind as we share this dialogue today. And I do hope it will be a dialogue. I know we're going to get to some questions and answers, so I'm really also looking forward to that part of the afternoon. We're going to go to many places today. I do work on many different ways, many different levels in my creativity and in my work. So there's a lot on my mind right now. These days, there's a lot there. So I try to organize some things, but let's begin. When we come together, it is our way to connect our minds and our hearts. The elders, one of my very strong teachings in my life is the elders would tell us that the longest journey is from the head to the heart. So we're just going to take a moment to come together, and we're going to form our circle, our council, our space to share today. So let's make that journey to connect our minds to our hearts in this place. And we're just going to take a moment to stand up. Okay, wherever you are, just stand up. Just plant your feet. Let's take this moment to breathe. Plant your feet upon the land, in the place you are right now. Let your roots go down deep into this land, into this creation that gives you all of the sustenance that you need to live. Take a moment to breathe. Let those roots reach down. Where you are now on Turtle Island is the homeland of someone at some point in our Indigenous history. Do you know who that might be? Okay. All right, so now we're going to, let's just move into this little, thank you. Let's just move into this little, I guess you call it rites of passage or initiation. So I took some inspiration from some stories, and there are stories about folks in our communities people that have performed deeds of courage and significance. And many times that actually honors, the community would honor that with a new name. They would acknowledge that deed with a new name amongst the people. So in this first part of the process, we're going to take our rooting exercise and we're going to acknowledge where we are in the land, the place, the territory. Just take a moment to think about the history of that place, the place you are. Think about the history that you know. Elaine mentioned that. Now, I want you to place your own history or layer your own history into that. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is we're going to just in our minds, we're just going to take a moment to separate from this old story. So much of what Elaine shared this morning talks about that old story. Let's make a departure from these old ways of thinking, these old ways of doing things. And let's begin to create and draft a new story for ourselves, for yourselves. Now, just turn inward for a moment and consider, and then write a few lines about something you have begun or would like to begin, an action that would prove, this is to yourself, okay? An action that would prove to yourself a worthy effort in transforming this old story and gaining new knowledge, new understanding, and in turn, the possibilities to create a new story, a new narrative going forward, and becoming a transformed citizen of Turtle Island. Now we're just going to take a moment with that. You can reference the TRC calls to action if you'd like. Yeah, just take a few moments with that. So consider and write a few lines, a few sentences about something you have begun or something you would like to begin. An action that would prove to yourself a worthy effort in transforming the old story. So that's the beginning of the process. Just sit with that and let it unfold as we move through the rest of the afternoon here, and we'll work with it as we go through. Okay. I wanted to thank Elaine as well for the basically call to action to educate yourself on the history of Canada. I think that is really, really important and very, very much a part of this process of reconciliation. So if I wish to, I guess I could introduce myself as number 2500139101. So that's my Indian status number. Indian in Canada is a concept that was created by the Canadian government out of a collection of legislation referred to collectively as the Indian Act, which creates a bureaucratic category called Indian that can then effectively whereby they can effectively then manage the problem. It begins by everyone being given a number, a band name, and perhaps a territory or reservation. My band is Lower Cayuga. I guess my family number would be 1391, which it exemplifies this act of colonization. It's interesting because when they registered our families as, at least this is how it is from the Haudenosaunee point of view, where the family runs through the woman, okay, not the man. So in this act of giving and registering us, they made it paternal. And so my father is Cayuga and my mother is Mohawk. So we had to actually do an action to retrace this. It's just a concrete example of the systemic cultural disruption and basically purposeful assimilation. So that's to start with that. So today I was posed the question, how do the arts facilitate cultural wellness? So I'm so honored to be able to talk about my own process in this, because my own process as an artist, as a creator, has completely facilitated a transformation for me. I'm honored to share thoughts on what the journey has been culturally, artistically, because I have been also so blessed in my training and by those who have mentored me and who have offered an opportunity for me as an artist to actually be trained and to work within a cultural perspective. Okay. This has really been, this artistic journey really has been a journey to truly understand the questions I think we are all grappling with as Indigenous people today, as we awake from the colonization process and the genocide of residential school. How do we deal with the issues arising from our lands, from ourselves being dispossessed from our lands appropriated, how our people have been dispossessed, the disenfranchisement from our place on the land and in our territories, and the enfranchisement into Canadian policy and the Indian Act. Our language is repressed, our spiritual practices outlawed, and our children taken away from our families. This systematically, it continues today. It's said that in Canada, the threat to Indigenous languages is the highest amongst all developed nations. That was an interesting piece of information that I came by that I thought was quite telling. In the residential school, okay, my grandfather went to residential school, as well as a lot of my older aunties and uncles. My mother was the second youngest out of 10, so she didn't specifically go, but she did go to day school. In residential school for speaking your native language, they put needles into their tongues, or oftentimes their hands were held over hot flame. So, these are some of the realities that I continue to learn about. I'm finally really getting to some of the stories of my grandfather, in residential school. And so part of my artistic process helps me to process those things in a very deep way. But it's not just the system that needs to be changed in going forward. We have to change the way we think and the way we imagine. There's some different images coming up, which I love, because in this old artwork, you see that relationship to me, you know, through the images. This is, we've chosen a number of Eastern woodland pieces primarily that, you know, that represent our relation to the place here, and often in the Eastern woodland, artistic beadwork and motifs, it's very floral, you know, we're in the woodland area. What you'll see also with some of this, some of these pieces is that there's an adaptation of materials as well. I think we see later on, we see some quill work and some fiber embroidery, and you know, the beads were another piece of technology that came that were adapted to and used for self-expression. And now looking at the opportunities, for example, that I've had over the last 30 years of my career. And you know, we find ourselves in the midst of reconciliation, a number of years into reconciliation. And it's interesting because that has been sort of really left to everyone's own interpretation of that, you know, what is the process of reconciliation? What does that mean, and how do we do that? So I think in my work, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well, that I think that I've been trying to find that process, and I know that the question is being asked, particularly on some grassroots levels in the community. So there's you know, there's some action on that front, and that's very, very encouraging. I think also in terms of the objectives of our people and our cultural ways is that it's been the same since the earliest times right up until today, and that is providing, you know, as Elaine said, is giving the strength, or providing, and how do we give the strength to our future generations, our you know, our First Nations youth and our young people. Yeah, it's another beautiful, that floral. So even raised beadwork as well came into it. They brought that art form to even a, you know, third dimension. Yeah. Okay. You know, this using that incredible material that is birch bark. You know, this just a, you know, incredible design. It's a classic design. Again, use of various fibers, roots. Many of these types of containers were waterproof, of course. I think they were even used for cooking. Yeah. Yeah. One of the, you know, being living here in Algonquin territory, and coming into relation to the territory and the river, and then from there into the canoe, was the that element of the birch tree, and of course the making and design of these water vessels is, you know, just incredible ingenuity, but also the process of harvesting the material is also that first part of the art form. Yeah, I think this is the embroidery. This is the piece that uses various fibers, with natural dyes. And if you look at the edging, it looks like sweetgrass to me. So sweetgrass is one of the 4 sacred medicines: tobacco, sage, sweetgrass, and tobacco. Oh yeah, see that? So beautiful. Okay. Okay, this is more of an ash. It's more of an ash basket. This one has a lid on it. This is again beautiful shape, beautiful form. We're going to have sweetgrass on the edges of that. That one's nice because there's a lead that fits right over it quite snugly. That whole process of pounding the ash tree to get that right thickness of splint that they're using. Often you're going to use natural dyes as well. So beautiful. So it's a very personal issue when we realize what colonization is in real terms. In our understanding of ourselves, in our attitudes towards ourselves, in our emotional and psychological positioning in relation to settler society, as well as each other. And I loved and was really grateful, Elaine, when you made that interrelational gesture, that connectivity. How did I write it over here? Yeah, you extended relational greetings. That is so beautiful, and we always talk about all of our relations. So I honor that, and I thank you for that. So, and we need to talk about it in personal terms in order to fully appreciate what kind of solutions that are going to be effective in really making transformational change in our communities, as opposed to surface changes that address other people's priorities. Transformation is a very big theme in my work. So this is why exploring our own personal journey, investigating our personal narrative, exploring ourselves through self-expression, and through reclaiming our performance histories, our creative process, it's so important and essential right now. I'm going to use that quote from Louis Riel. He said that my people will sleep for 100 years, and it will be the artists who wake them. I thought about this for a long time. I heard this many, many years ago when I first started theater. And because there's no words for art in our languages, I think what he was saying, or what he was referring to, is that it's our creativity as Indigenous people, our ability to imagine and reimagine ourselves in a self-determined way that will bring us back. So that's how I've been in relation to that statement ever since. Someone sent me a really cool TED Talk by Wade Davis. I'm doing some work on the Gitchisipi and the Gatineau River. And there's a gentleman who's showing me around. He's actually part of the, I think it's the Canadian Geological Society. And he's a wealth of knowledge. Anyway, he sent me this link. So Wade Davis says, Indigenous cultures, and as Elaine was saying as well, he's referring to ways of life, are branches of the human imagination that go back to time immemorial. To me, this really resonates to me as an artist and a Ganyagahaga, because our creation stories, my creation stories, place me right here on Turtle Island. Okay. This very place, this very land. And I always remember how we use that term from time immemorial. And so it was really interesting to hear that same language, that same narrative within this TED Talk, and how that sparked my resonance with it. So if you want to talk about, bearing straight theories later on, we could do that too. Just email me. So as an Indigenous artist, I've chosen to work within a process and be inspired by the fullness of my own cultural narrative, okay? By our language, by our history, by our teachings, by our ceremonies. So for me as an artist, I've made that the foundation of my artistic practice. And that's a choice, of course. I've been really fortunate to have the opportunity to train with within Indigenous methodology and performance culture, which has been probably the greatest gift in terms of my training. Not so much in my early years with my formal education, my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from the University of Michigan. That was basically a fine arts, degree. I was focusing on and working with. Graphic design and photography, but I was able to do it all. I did a lot of printmaking and did a lot of metal work. I did ceramics and a lot of carving, sculpture as well. So I was able to move into those and dive into those areas while trying to do the same thing with design. I came out of university. I also took a couple of summers and went to the Ontario College of Art and Design in Toronto and focused a little bit more on photography there, and that was really quite wonderful. And I came out of that and started working in Toronto as a graphic designer in the corporate area, and just even within a couple years, it didn't feel right. And I remember even some of the feelings inside in terms of working with these large corporate companies and using my creativity to further their goals. So it didn't resonate quite quickly. So I moved home, I went back home, and I started just doing my own visual art at that time. A lot of it had to do with sculpture and carving, and realized that the visual artwork that was coming had a narrative behind it, had a story there, and that really made me very curious. And then had the opportunity. They were bringing back it's called CIT, the Center for Indigenous Theater. Today they call it that. Then it was called the Native Theater School. And I was doing some storytelling and got the chance to start training at the Native Theater School, and I jumped right in. I really loved many of the concepts that they had talked about, and one of the first things they introduced to us was that we have ancestral memory in our body, and that we can bring that into what we're exploring in our stories and in our telling of our stories. And that really fascinated me, and still does. And as I continued into my theater work, it was always primarily for me, always through the physical body. Very rooted in that from an athletics background, and just quite organically and naturally went there, probably to balance, or probably at the same time as working with that emotional landscape through theater. It was very deep. We're working into. I don't know if I was really conscious about it at the time, but working into this trauma, into this colonization of the body, of the mind, all of this history in my body, and it really did feed the emotionality of the theater work for sure. But I knew it was taking me somewhere, because I wanted to get to that place of memory. Can I actually remember? Could we actually? How far can we go into that? Into maybe some kind of a real experience of that memory. And then that took me into more and more deeper work with my body. And then I was able to actually make a jump right into starting to do dance. And that was, again, a gift, in that so this started in 1996, was the first Aboriginal dance training program at the Banff Center for the Arts. And just a couple years prior to that, there was a sort of a nationwide series of discussions which talked about, from these Indigenous circles, that talked about what are the art forms that are They're not being supported very much. And in the mid-90s, it was dance for sure. Theater was having a resurgence. Visual arts were there, but dance was really suffering. So that was one of the first programs that Banff came up with, all based on Indigenous methodology, all based on bringing in and gathering those incredible traditions of dance and movement, song, story. And we trained hard and moved deeper into, I think for me, the kind of the alchemy of being able to work with these stories. And I mean, we have such an incredible vault of stories, of narrative. And the narrative, I say storytelling, but storytelling is just a part of the whole, whole narrative and the fullness of that oral tradition. Its history, its teachings, it's all of that. Can we go back and go back? That's where I'm starting to work on the land a little bit more. So did the training at Banff, and then went to Vancouver and started dancing with two contemporary companies. Again, learning a lot, moving into deep, very, very, very physical, very, very, very deep performances, performance content. Each series of that, of working with these full-length dance pieces, really was quite transformational. This work here, this work is based on, again, a collaborative, a circle of artists. We're now a collective called Circadia Indigena. We're from all over Turtle Island. We're dancers and theaters and filmmakers, and we're now starting to layer our live performances to reflect the layering of our stories. Mental, physical, spiritual. This piece is called Greed. And we all bring that traditional teaching of those traditional teachings of balance and harmony with creation and where we are on the land and in the land. And part of the one of the foundational teachings of that harmony is to take only what you need and make sure there's some left for the others. So even that basic value of that, and that comes through different stories from different nations. These collaborators are Blackfoot. Byron Chief Moon is Blackfoot. Olivia is a mix of Anishinaabe, and I think she was talking about Potawatomi, the Anishinaabe nations. Okay, I'm in there as well. So we have Damien, he's from the Okanagan. We have Tia, actually, she's Maori, and her son is now becoming involved in the group, the collective. So basing the work on our stories. In this set of stories from the Blackfoot tradition, a being by the name, they called him Goteosis. And Goteosis came to help the people and to help rebalance and to help them rebalance and find that harmony again. And so that's what this piece basically was about. So within a contemporary context, telling these stories and embodying these stories, as we reimagine ourselves going forward. You can go. Let's go to the next one. What are we doing for time? Okay. There.
We have about 5 to 7 minutes left.
Okay, so let's look at these series of images. When I started really creating work here and really working as an artist here in Ottawa and in Algonquin territory, I spent a good year taking the appropriate process of meeting and introducing myself to the Algonquin folks, to the hereditary leadership, to those in leadership, and to come to know their history, to educate myself in how they are in their territory, and I continue to learn. It's so amazing. So that quite quickly led me to the water system and the Gitchisipi, which is in this photograph here, Gitchisipi, the Ottawa River, which flows from Montreal and the area of my people, Mohawk, the Kanagahaga, all the way across to Lake Nipissing and back into the Great Lakes from there. So much history, just so much culture around the river and the tributaries as well, the Gatineau River coming in. So starting to understand where I am in their land and their history. That quickly brought me to the canoe. The art, the artistic expression of what that is. And from there started working upon the territory I was on, the landscape that I was on. That's where we created this festival, I'm gonna call it a festival, called the Canoe Stories Festival. And we were a part of the opening of the Indigenous Theater division at the National Arts Center, where they did a welcoming of the canoes. And even in that process of reaching out to make sure that the Algonquin host nation people were fully represented in that opening, I came to understand that there were 11 Algonquin nations that are spread across the territory. And that was really quite wonderful to come to an understanding of that. And then beginning to meet some of those people. So that was quite beautiful. So the Canoe Stories Festival then is a series of actions, performances, expressions that use the canoe as a platform, as a starting place, where then all culture then flows, all way of life flows, and that pretty much then extends to everything. So it's just a beautiful metaphor. And so the Canoe Stories Festival happened a year ago, or 2019 in September. This here was a canoe that was created. It's called a Reconciliation Canoe, and it was created with the students, the Native Students Association at the University of Ottawa. And it was completed in 2017, and it had sat at the University of Ottawa since it had been created, and it had never touched the water. So this was the process of this festival called Canoe Stories Festival, to start to find those stories. And we were able to bring Marcel. He's in the photo there. He's at the canoe there, preparing it. These are some of the students that came for that event there, with lined up there, looking at the canoe, and his helpers behind. There was the Sacred Fire and performances as well. But he was able to basically birth that canoe and put that canoe into the water. One of the, I guess I'll tell you, in terms of one of the things that I wanted to include, to make sure that we wanted to include for that were canoe songs. And unfortunately, we weren't able to find that. And that's another, I guess to me, that's the next step, and maybe the next part of the next festival is to actually find and begin to sing those songs again. Let's continue on. Yes, so there he is. There's Marcel. It floats. It's a beautiful, beautiful canoe. And we also had a contemporary, she's a contemporary dancer, Olivia Davies, from this territory originally, lives in Vancouver, do a piece of work that she had always wanted to actually dance in the river, and we were able to facilitate that as well. And it was quite stunning. Let's go to the next one here. There's another one. Yes. Okay. So this is Nipissing. Anamatazik, Big Sky, or Big Medicine Studio. They do a festival called Ice Follies. I think also every second year in January, February, and do performances. This is a lodge that they built to sort of anchor and center the performance. We did some shadow work actually off the sides of that as well to tell story. If you can see behind the lodge there's an ice crack, which I think is quite special. They said it was quite special for that year. And that began the whole, just the whole material of what we started to explore story-wise. You know, everything from the stories that's in there, there's story bags about coming up from the earth and coming through those layers. So the layers of the ice, and that opening was quite metaphorical, quite beautiful. And actually, as dancers, we actually did come up out of the ice crack, out into the space, and then into the place. We started this. It was a performance that I think in studio we thought maybe it would last around 30 minutes. I think we ended up almost 50 minutes as we really worked with the journey. Let's go to the next photo of that. There we go. Okay, there's a series of images. So we want to play on some of the imagery that is native to that area, which is the petroglyphs as well. And then you see different angles of the playing space. This is some costume work that we all did. Big Medicine Studio has all kinds of different things, and we all created this sort of. We had fun with it. We tried to make these very interesting costumes and regalia. And then the third photo is actually that's directly after the performance. So that gives you some of the idea of what it looked like. Yeah. So telling those stories, singing those songs on the land, re-inhabiting, reimagining ourselves in these places is central to my work. Can we do questions and answers? Dialogue?
Hi there.
Hi there.
Hi. Thank you so much, JP. And we'll move into some Q&A, but definitely we have people saying thank you, hearts being shared. Thank you so much, Elaine. Thank you so much. Thank you, Elaine, for sharing your stories. And we have a question here from Janice. She is saying, thank you so much. And Jenny P here says, thank you kindly, JP. From Janice, she says, thank you so much for a rich opportunity to learn from you both. I've been fortunate to have taken part in many Indigenous learning experiences in my career. I still have a lot to learn. I often bring First Nations, Métis, or Inuit elders into my classroom to share with my students. When I would like to teach about something such as the use of talking sticks, I never know if I can do this by giving the Indigenous background and its meaning. I do not want to be appropriating culture. How do I know if I can share without offending anyone? And I think it's important, it's a great question, because what you were mentioning too, Elaine and JP, is these can be difficult conversations, and sometimes people are shy and nervous and scared to ask questions so that they don't feel that they're saying the wrong thing. So thank you for opening that up, Janice. Who would like to answer?
Elaine, can I go for that one?
I always I always remind people, like, Google what is cultural appropriation, and Google just like JP was talking about, the calls to action interrelated with how you deliver it. And a lot of that is a personal space of giving it space. I always, just like you had shared at the beginning, of what they call this land acknowledgement, and being authentic about it, right? And making sure that you you're gonna by action lead the way. So like we have this natural law. So in natural law, I am to understand as the youngest sibling, I'm the baby, I'm to follow my older sister. And she, by natural law, shows me this walk of life. So I take that also with what also JP was sharing, of understanding the roles and responsibility to the territory. Who are the people, who are the knowledge carriers, but also ask that permission. So not putting education down. Sometimes education takes it without actually knowing the process or the protocol. And I've done that with other places, and that seems to be an ongoing question. What part can I take part of, and what part should I take a step back? If it's not your culture, and this means not to offend anyone, then you need to search out the people that follow through with that cultural practice. And I always say, make sure their police record checked, make sure they already work in the community, and they're not these, what we call pop-up people, pop-up ones that could cause harm. So I always ask, like, who are you working with? Who have you worked with? Can I go talk with them? And if they work with, and if they say a name like JP Longboat, guess who I'm going to be contacting? JP, how did this person work out? You know, and that's that community conversation of all eyes, including your eyes, should be also helping us to make sure that the practice of cultural safety and sustainability continues. And so cultural appropriation comes up in that conversation too a lot. See, I changed my earrings.
Love it. Yeah, thank you so much. This is such a rich amount of knowledge that you're sharing. So I think there's a lot of people who are just so hungry for learning. And so another question here is similar from Michelle. She asks, Elaine, how does a privileged white woman learn from Native teachers? And so often I am refused. I understand the fear, but how can I learn if no one is willing to teach whiteys? That's what she says, whiteys, but.
It's what do you want from it? What do you want? Because you can't practice the actual doing of the ceremony. What do you want from it? If it's to learn about elements of the corns, beans, and squash, go to JP's house. He's got a garden. I don't know, I'm just throwing JP out there. But those are the other places, like, what do you want? Because we're not a pan, we're not a bucket. It's really deciding, what do you want? But that's that ego place. Ask yourself, what will you do with it? Like, seriously, what will you do with it? Because you're not a gatekeeper, you're not the doorkeeper, you're not the knowledge carrier. It's really understanding sometimes you have to take a seat. And there's lots of places. There's these open spaces, like in Ottawa, we have them, but in other spaces, there's healing lodges, or there's lodges to go, just listen to the teaching. Just go listen to the teaching. If that's what you need, okay. And a lot of times, there would be a lot of non-Indigenous at my uncle's teaching, but he also taught me, this doesn't give you permission. What I talk about is mine. So nowadays, I just automatically say, this isn't giving you any permission. but it's also really important that it's understanding when to take a seat and just listen. And how you carry it forward is up to you. But if it's abused, that's that advantage taking on vulnerable. And that's that place of you hold yourself accountable. And that's that place of where all eyes are watching. And that's like all over social media these days, all eyes are watching, you know? And I think that's that place of it's your responsibility too. When you see non-Indigenous practicing, where did you learn that? Did you get permission? Can I go talk to them? And they can't be all people like in this region, they say a certain name. Oh, so-and-so gave me permission. Well, I'll go talk to his family because I actually know his family. I'm interrelated with his family. So I'm going to call them. Do you mind if I text them right now? And they're like, what? And that's not challenging, and it's not lateral violence. It's not putting them down. It's saying, tell me more about you. You know, because I'll give you my uncles, I'll give you my aunties, I'll give you my cousins, and it's validating each other because everything in ceremony needs to be validated. I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of went off on some other.
Again, though, this is important teaching for us. Thank you. Would you be interested, JP, in speaking about the difference between reconciliation and conciliation and that difference?
Reconciliation and conciliation.
You know, was there ever conciliation, and can we reconcile?
Well, for me, so reconciliation, I think there's a larger process of that, you know, reconciling. But even within our own nations, we have our own process of reconciliation that we have to undergo as well, and I think those are quite different. You know, even down to me personally, I have to define what that is for me. Reconciliation. What does that look like for me? And to me, that brings me to one of my big projects right now, which is basically creating sovereign creative space with all of the cultural resources that are there for reclamation, for cultural reclamation. So for me, I've been defining for myself, well, what is that? What can I do? Or how do I, what does reconciliation mean for me? And to me, that's what it means for me at this point in time, is creating sovereign space for us to do our work in a cultural way. Does that answer your question? I don't know if that's
I think so. Yeah. The sovereign space, that piece of is so important now and spoken about so much in the TRC, that sovereignty. Another question we have is, so how should people thank individuals, Indigenous individuals, in these sharing experiences? What is the protocol? What is a good way of sharing gratitude? Maybe Elaine, could you answer that?
Am I on? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, now you're muted.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh, now it's muted.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. I would always say find out what services are in.
Oh, why does it keep going on? Sorry. I'm not hearing you again.
Okay.
Now
Violence against women, youth. That's
sorry, it keeps cutting out, Elaine.
okay. Okay.
Maybe there's
a lot through donations and advocacy and speaking up and raising awareness in all your different platforms. If you see something within the Indigenous community, you need to take also the education to be the educated one, and advocate to places of reaching out directly to the band offices. How can I help? How can I raise awareness? Right now in Mi'kmaq territories, they're throwing out the treaties information, you know, the Royal Proclamation, like find that space out so that you align it to how does it fit with you. Right now, I reached out to my friends within that region. How can I help? I know that that's probably being asked a lot of you, and I don't want to do a pan. I want to make an authentic. How do I really help? Same with my friends on the West Coast. How can I help? And they just said, raise awareness, but be authentic about it. Don't just be in the this week we're talking about. Be in the ongoing conversation. JP, do you have some suggestions too?
I really like that. I think that's fantastic. I mean, I go back to the very first, some of the first things that were said in terms of, you know, please educate yourself. You know, please, you know, you talk about the Royal Proclamation. You know, you talk about these documents and these things that there's a lot in there. You know, there's a lot in those, and it takes a while to you know, to educate yourself. But please do. I heard an elder a while back, a number of years ago, talk about that these are complex issues. They're not easy issues. This is a complex relationship, but don't let the complexity stop you. Don't let that weigh you down or stop you. You know, one day at a time, maybe one piece at a time. And that always really stuck with me. You know, it is a complex relationship, but you know, begin, as you say, where you can. How can I help?
Yeah. And as a after note, don't fatigue us. We get fatigued. So it's really the responsibility back to the people that live as guests on this land. I'm a guest in this territory. I follow my cousin's husband's lead because he is from this territory. I make sure I know the leadership. And that's that place of no policy and procedure within whatever organization takes precedent. You need to remember you are a guest. And I always hear of my biological mom when I'd leave her and I go, okay, I'm going back to the big city. And she's like, do your best, my girl. And that's it. That's all she would say to me. And then she'd give me a kiss and a hug and off I'd go to the big city. So I always have that in my head. Do your best. Okay, we'll do our best.
Good.
Yeah, I think now, especially now with Black Lives Matter and just all the changes on the planet right now, the voices are so strong, and it's just reminding people to listen, to learn, and to understand more deeply.
And go to authentic, go to authentic spaces. Like really go to authentic places. Don't just go into the higher journalism spaces. Like go to the grassroots written, what you need to know, what you need to learn, what is the subject of this. You know, it's all been thrown out from BC all the way to the East Coast, all the way to Nunavut, all the way down to our southern friends. You know, everything is explained already. So it's really being empathetic to the compassion of our fatigue. But like I said, there's a huge wave of the ones that have been raised this way. And they're like right out there. They're on the front lines. They're out at the Moose Moratorium. They're on the East Coast. They're at the front lines. They're getting arrested. Make bail money for them. Like any GoFundMe that's out there in the land, contribute to it. Raise awareness. Share it. Even share the places of authentic arts that are out there. Raise awareness to the cultural appropriation that is happening. Don't buy it. Call it out. And that's that place of, I don't know if I can, I'm feeling uncomfortable about that, but call it out. Figure out in your dialogue how you will stand with us better. Because it's already been written.
Mm-hmm. And again, bringing it back to the place of art and wellness. We have just 5 more minutes. If I was to ask you to encapsulate just a couple of words about what art and wellness is again, what would you say? What would you bring back to us from your talk? Where does art and wellness for you live?
Well, for me, it's a blessing in that it's allowed me to transform to transform into being positive, to be able to contribute, to to live that good mind and that good life. The Anishinaabe people call it Bemadazuin, the good life. To being able to meet our teachings and our original teachings and our original instructions as well. I think for me, I would love to get further into the language, but that means I would have to make some changes, just in terms of my life to be able to do that. So, that's maybe probably the next step. As we go further into it, there's always the next thing for sure. To me, the ability to be able to express and the artistic practice has been completely transformational for me.
Thank you so much. I see that as well. Art is so transformational for people. I think because it speaks to our soul, it speaks to our deeper selves. It really speaks truth in my mind and in my soul. Elaine, would you like to share that sort of short encapsulation before we sign off?
You have to remember, we're not outlawed people. It's always been our way of life. And we're singing our songs, we're doing our ceremonies, we're doing our practice. And we will continue to rise because the wave is coming. So you have to prepare. And it's not a thing to be scared about. It's our children and our grandchildren. And we love them. So go with love.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. I feel that too with my child as well. She's a strong being. She is an artist and she's using the arts, and the children are using the arts to communicate what is important with each other. Yeah.
So I also sent you the one for the how to be an ally that was written by the people in Montreal. So I did, someone was asking, what does that mean? And there's different articles that are out there. So I just sent that quickly to you while we were on here.
Oh, fantastic.
So be good, everybody. Take care, JP. Nice to see you. Say hi to your mom.
Okay, will do.
Give her a squish for me.
Okay.
And if anyone wants to learn more about you and your work, JP, I know you talked about connecting through this platform. How can people find out more about what you do?
Well, www.circadiaindigena.com. So that's the website. Yeah, and then you can get a hold of me there. But yeah, if you think about the Canoe Stories Festival, if there's something that any kind of ideas or things that may spark something in that, yeah, I'd love to, because that's coming up again. We're going to try to do one in a year's time, so September 2021. Yeah,
it's great to know. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's not, it wouldn't just be here. It's what we're doing is we're trying to actually expand it across, at least Ontario at this point, and situate activities on those waterways.
So anywhere near Ottawa, Kingston, And in between?
Anywhere in between, any of the Great Lakes. Of course, there's lots going on back in Grand River territory. So, the Grand River as well, and the Haldimand Deed. We're so, obviously we have such a history here, and we want to reconnect with that, and we want to tell the story of that in a proper way, as we coexist here on Turtle Island. And we want to rebuild that relationship, that relationality. And I think that one of the wonderful ways to do that is to come together on the land and in these places.
Beautiful. And Elaine, do you have a way to find out more about the work that you do?
No, everything's pretty quiet. Sorry. You guys know how to my email. That's about it. I don't do a lot of things on electricity. Unless I'm texting somebody. So I'm just doing the work. I'm full spectrum Indigenous doula. I'm helper. I guess a speaker now, like different things, and helper comes in so many places of how can I help? So wonderful. Thank you for that. But I don't have a webby thing.
Someone who wants to find out more will find you, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, that's normally how that works.
Yeah, that's the way it works. And so I wanted to also thank the Community Foundation of Kingston, who gave us the grant so that we could have this talk today. And thank you so much to JP and to Elaine for sharing your wisdom and knowledge and your passions for art and community. And I wish you the best day today, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much.